Hey guys, LevelCap here, and today I've got a little treat for you. I was doing a live stream with Daniel Matros, aka Shinto, and he died, and check out what I picked up off his body. This is a Spas-12 with the suppressor on the end. And I'm pretty excited to have this thing. I tried not to die too much, so I'm going to go for a little hidey hole here just to make sure that I stay alive with the shotgun. Now, just so you know, devs get access to special attachments for guns in Battlefield 3. We've seen a 44 Magnum with a laser sight, and I did just die, but they do revive me. You'll see me get some kills with it right here. So they get a 44 Magnum with a laser sight, Spas-12 with suppressor. I believe they can attach interesting other attachments to other guns out there too. In fact, you can look through battle log, and some of the guns that you'll have all the attachments for still have grayed out attachments, and if you mouse over them on battle log, it'll say dev only. So there's definitely some cool stuff that the devs can create, and this is Daniel's custom Spas-12 shotgun. And listen to that beautiful suppressed sound. I mean, no other shotguns in the game get a suppressor, so the ability to stay off the minimap with a pump action shotgun could make you an extremely lethal and stealthy force in close quarter combat. Now, of course, I don't really know what the stats are, so I don't know how the suppressor affects this gun, but let's just listen to it for a sec. And that was my brief moment with a suppressed Spas-12. Goodbye, Spas-12 with suppressor, I shall miss thee. But it did make me start to think about, should we have suppressors for shotguns in Battlefield 4? I mean, they're freaking awesome in Battlefield 3 from my very, very limited experience with them. I'm not sure how much they actually affect the, say, hipfire accuracy, but the question comes in as to how realistic are they? Now, Battlefield is not necessarily realistic in terms of how combat plays out, but they do try and create realism with the kind of gear that's available to you. Not everything is 100% accurate, but I don't think I've really seen much in the way of real tactical suppressors for shotguns. Now, they do exist, but the effectiveness of them is relatively limited depending on what kind of setup you have. Now, I think a lot of people have seen the movie No Country for Old Men, where it's got that villain in it who has a suppressed pump action shotgun, and it just makes this awesome sound. And it's this kind of frightening weapon in the movie because it's just like so powerful and yet so silent at the same time. So the cool factor is definitely there. I think I would like to see them in Battlefield 4. It would be interesting to see if perhaps the devs decided to maybe vary up some of the pump action shotguns by allowing some of them to equip suppressors and others not to. Just a way to give certain weapons different advantages over others, you know, because there isn't a lot of ways to differentiate pump action shotguns in Battlefield at the moment, or at least they haven't differentiated them too much in terms of performance. You know, a little bit of spread difference here, a little bit of rate of fire difference, but other than that, they kind of do the same thing. So adding a suppressor function maybe for one would be pretty cool. Now, I can see why some of the other weapons aren't in the game yet. For example, the Magnum with a laser sight on there. I believe Jack Frags has a pretty cool video of him picking up one of these Magnums off of a DICE dev and then going on a little kill streak with the laser sighted Magnum. And there doesn't seem like there's really any downsides to a laser sighted Magnum other than perhaps the laser giving away your position, but having that kind of super accurate hipfire just sounds awesome. And I understand why it's devs only guns, because some of the attachments are so good for some of these weapons that I think some people would only run them. There would be no downside to running with those specific attachments. So a suppressor on a shotgun does seem like there might be no downside to running with that. Now, if they made it so the suppressor increased the hipfire spread, which is kind of traditional for suppressors on other weapons in Battlefield, then there's questions as to whether or not that would be a big hindrance for a pump action shotgun. Sure, it might limit your range just slightly, but again, if you have a suppressor, it should be easier to get into close quarters, which is where you want to be with a shotgun anyway. So it seems like if you had a shotgun available, suppressor available to a shotgun, you'd probably want to use it in all situations. So there's really that sort of fine line of like, you gotta find a nice pro and con for it. You know, it can't be perfect for all situations. And there's something that I feel like Battlefield 3 hasn't really addressed yet, which is ADS time. Now they have kind of messed around with ADS time, and I'm talking about the time it takes to aim down the sights of your gun. And they have changed that up a little bit depending on what kind of sights you have. They've increased it just by fractions of a second, which is, I think, realistic. You would only want to increase it by a fraction of a second. But I feel that if you're running with a heavier gun, it should take a little bit longer to aim down sights. Having played a bit of airsoft recently and using my sort of airsoft experience, I picked up an M249 that a guy was running on a field and was practicing aiming down sights with that weapon. And sure, it's a lot heavier. It takes a little bit longer to ADS with that weapon than, say, an M4 does, or a really compact weapon like an MP7. So I feel like perhaps the more weight you add to a gun, like a suppressor, that would definitely add a little bit of weight, especially to the end of the gun, so you get the maximum like leverage effect of it, could potentially increase the time it takes to aim down sights. This would be one interesting way to try and balance out, say, attachments like the suppressor, or perhaps really heavy guns. Now, I did research the suppressor and shotgun a little bit online, and it seems like they sort of exist, but they're very limited in terms of their effectiveness. There have been some custom shops that have really done a lot of research into how the shot expands after it comes out of the end of the barrel, and how to try and contain the gases that are coming out of the end of the shotgun as best as possible, and they have to make some pretty interesting custom modifications to get the maximum effect. But regardless, it's not going to suppress the noise as much as, say, a pistol suppressor or even your basic M4 suppressor. So it would be interesting to see if maybe they want to compromise with suppressed shotguns in that it'll keep you off the radar up to a certain distance away. So maybe if somebody's 10-15 feet away from you, they'll pop up on the you'll pop up on the radar when you fire. But if they're further away than that, then you're going to remain off the radar. So it would be interesting to kind of use distances to factor in ways to keep you off the radar like that. I'm just trying to think of ways to balance it out, because it really does seem like a suppressed shotgun would be the way to go in all situations. And looking at Battlefield from a designer's perspective, as I often do, I try and think of ways to make sure that there's enough variety in the gameplay, and to make sure that not everybody just uses one specific setup for the whole game. There's got to be a reason to attach something for this map, but not use it for that map. Just add enough customization to keep things interesting and dynamic. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this footage of the suppressed shotgun. I've seen a little bit else out there on YouTube, but I thought you guys could deal with a little more of it. And if you want to see the Magnum with the laser sight, be sure to go check out JackFrag's YouTube channel, because he's got a pretty good kill streak with one of them over there. Hopefully I can find some more exclusive dev weapons. And anyway, I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.